Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to analyze a game from Monthly Cup number 11. This is game 5 of the semifinal shadowblue vs KumpleKefer. I chose this game because there are a lot of interesting decisions, some unusual play, and hopefully I can get into the heads of these players and explain their reasoning behind their plays. So let's get started. Shadowblue is playing Blue Jump. KumpleKefer is playing Crackthorn. KumpleKefer redraws all of his cards. The only thing you might want to keep is a Flame Burst there, which is okay against Blue Jump. He knows he's playing against Blue Jump, but Shadowblue might not know exactly what he's playing against, although he could, based on the two decks he's seen previous, probably deduce that he's playing against Crackthorn. Shadowblue actually threw back a Water Elemental because he already had a creature to collect in Triton Trainer, and he prefers that one, maybe looking for some utility. Now, both players open to the middle, and as a Blue Jump player, you really want to go to the opposite side as your opponent. So you want them to choose which side they're going to first. And since KumpleKefer only just played a mountain in the center, and at Shadowblue's turn, he would normally decide to go to one side or the other. But Shadowblue's actually avoided this by just going another land straight towards the center. And this land might look like it's wasted, and it likely is mostly wasted. But here is the reason that he wouldn't want to play a land to the side. For example, here, have his opponent play lands here, and then dodge that side by going onto this side. The reason is that KumpleKefer could continue going out this side, and then, for example, play a Crackthorn and dash onto Shadowblue's lakes there, or simply just play a creature and not have to make many lands, just walk over straight to the orb and start hitting him. So this land, while it's not very useful for Shadowblue, it's not going to help his opponent either. So I believe that is why he made the lake in the middle there. KumpleKefer, probably not very familiar with this opening. He has Cypher, which is one of the best opening creatures in the game. He could go off to the side and collect with it by just Explore Mountain. And if his opponent made more of a normal opening, that might be what he would do. But since his opponent went to the center, he's actually just going to play Cypher right in the middle, where it can threaten every space on the board except the ones on the edges. And it puts a lot of pressure on Shadowblue. Now, Shadowblue has a few possible responses. One is Aurora to get a favorable trade. It's not very good Aurora target, but putting a 6/6 into a 5/6 is very good. And KumpleKefer was not afraid of that at all because he has the Ground Shaker, which would clear the board after that. So the only thing he's really worried about is Frogify. So there's 3 cards in Shadowblue's deck that he's kind of worried about as a response to this. And Shadowblue actually has 2 Frogifys in his hand. And you see here he hovers over making a lake. He's going to go for this play. This is the first play that comes to his mind. But he thinks about it. He thinks, okay, if I Frogify this and hit into it, I have a 4/2 left. I got 1 Faeria. My opponent goes to 6 Faeria. If he has Cypher's Wrath, he's just going to be ahead. He's going to be ahead, 4 Faeria to 1 on his turn. If he plays a creature after that, then, say a Wood Ellie would be just disastrous. If he Cypher's Wrath played Wood Ellie there, he'd have a Collector, Shadowblue would be way behind. So he actually doesn't go for the Frogify clear. He just goes to collect. He says, I need to collect. I need to get this Triton Warrior double collecting from both these wells, get my Faeria up, and decrease the cost of my Wavecrash Colossus, because that's the best win condition for Blue Jump against Crackthorn. So he goes to the side and collects, but the problem with that, he can't just do that, because if KumpleKefer has a Horsemaster, then he would be able to make double neutral, play the Horsemaster, and get the free clear. On the 4/4, shadowblue would pretty much lose on the spot. So he plays the Sunken Tower, which actually got off a spell roll, and moves the Cipher away so that there's no way that this Cipher can clear the 4/4 for free. And now, Cipher is next to a well, and the Sunken Tower is going to make chasing down this 4/4 very difficult, so he just collects. Makes a forest. Doesn't play the Ground Shaker because the Ground Shaker doesn't accomplish very much on this board. He's going to wait and try and see if, for example, shadowblue plays a Prophet of Tides, which you can clear for free. And shadowblue is going to continue to need to play around this Cipher since he didn't remove it with the Frogify. So he's playing a very dangerous game. Now the normal play might be move this 4/4 up, double land over here, double collect. But the problem with that is if KumpleKefer has a Grove Caller, which in fact he does, he could play Forest next to the 4/4, move Cipher off this Forest, Grove Caller, and get a good trade, and again be very, very far ahead. So shadowblue needs to collect from this spot, and he can either play his other land here or here, as he's deciding right now. But he definitely wants to go to this spot to play around Grove Caller. And he could play a Water Ellie. Probably doesn't want to play Prophet of Tides right now. Probably doesn't want to play a Gabriel Enchantress either. But he decides not to play anything. Both players storing a lot of Faeria to be able to make big plays later. So as you can see, KumpleKefer can't clear this 4/4 because Cipher's sitting on his only forest. If he makes a forest, he can't play the Grove Caller on that forest and teleport Cipher to that forest, and he can't move Cipher off that forest and move towards the 4/4. So he plays Ground Shaker. I should note that if KumpleKefer had a Wood Elemental here, he would actually be able to play a forest, Wood Ellie towards the Triton Warrior, then move Cipher off this forest, play Grove Caller here, teleport Cipher and clear. And again, that would probably win KumpleKefer the game, but he doesn't have the Wood Elemental plus Grove Caller combo. He just plays the Ground Shaker, potentially double collecting this turn, or getting close to shadowblue's Orb. Okay, at this point, the Cipher isn't sitting on the only forest, so he's very vulnerable to a Grove Caller plus trade. So shadowblue has let the Cipher live as long as possible, and he needs to kill it now. So he has the Prophet of Tides plus Frogify and trade. And it's actually interesting that he has baited out this Ground Shaker in a way before he used the Prophet of Tides, so now the Prophet of Tides doesn't die for free. So at this point, we've seen some pretty unusual play from shadowblue. First, opening towards the center, then not using Frogify to clear the Cipher, which allowed him to collect more, and he's ended up still clearing the Cipher, although a lot later. Kind of messing up his opponent's lands. Like, these lands are just a nightmare for a Crackthorn player to have. They'd much rather just have a land at this well, and just a straight line. And he's even got an aggressive lake with a 5/6 on it, so he's played pretty strangely, but he's ended up in a pretty good spot. And this seems to be what he's aimed for with all of his plays. Now, as it turns out, KumpleKefer has probably the best response to this Ancient Herald in the Grove Color plus Elderwood Embrace to trade in his Groundshaker and get a value trade there. What he's lacking is a Groundshaker or a Crackthorn, although he's 2 forests away from Crackthorn, so he couldn't do that one to clear out these 1 health creatures. And he's also lacking, a Cypher's Wrath to clear them off. So to clear off the Ancient Herald, he could either place the forest here or here. As you see, he mouses over both of those. And he places it here eventually, I think, because he wants to have more range for this next Grove Collar. This doesn't cover very many spaces that this forest doesn't. If he places it here, he gets some range onto this whole side if he wants to use his second Grove Collar to clear something that's over there. So very good trade there with the Elderwood Embrace. Effectively, shadowblue spent 6 Faeria on a 5/6, and KumpleKefer spent 3 Faeria to trade into it and 4 Faeria on a 2/4. That's just collecting here. And shadowblue has 2 main options. He can double land this way, collect, clear the 2/4, or he can land over here, frogify the Groundshaker, and trade into it to clear that. He's really missing a Campfire, Falcon Dive, or Emperor's Command to just deal the 1 damage so we can trade into this Groundshaker effectively with his 4/1. And he just drew a Wavecrash Colossus. So this 7/5 is really preventing him from playing the Wavecrash Colossus, as it could just trade right into it. So it's kind of halting all his potential aggression. So instead of just going for this trade without using the Frogify, he actually clears the Groundshaker to enable his Wavecrash Colossus next turn. Kind of an aggressive play, using a Frogify like that for 1 damage and losing some tempo, but giving him the best chance of a good offense on the next turn. Now, KumpleKefer has a few options. He could, first of all, feed this 2/4, but he's perfectly happy with it just collecting. And he could have also made a forest and teleported this Grove Collar with his other Grove Collar and cleared this 3/1. But he decides to save the second Grove Collar, because this 3/1, all it really does is collect, and if KumpleKefer ever draws another Groundshaker or Crackthorn, it's probably going to clear this 3/1 for free. So there's not much use in spending your whole turn playing a 2/4 to trade your 2/4 into 3/1 when you're pretty likely to eventually draw a Groundshaker or Crackthorn to just clear for free. And also, this Grove Collar is going to enable you to take a good trade whenever you play it, probably, unless you fall really far behind. So keeping it in hand to trade for something bigger and more threatening than this 3/1 is what he's going to aim to do. So shadowblue draws another spell roll. Actually, it hits really well off. It gets 2 cards that he's playing in his deck already. But as I said before, his plan is to develop an aggressive Colossus. This is the hardest thing in his deck for Crackthorn to deal with, just a 7/7. And KumpleKefer doesn't have any way to deal with it this turn. He could feed his Tsugami, get enough Faeria to play a Gyarados. Play the Gyarados defensively, aiming to trade into it. So that would kind of represent an empty board there once that trade happens. Or he could, instead of feeding his collector there, he could just play the Ground Shaker, which clears the 3-1 and doesn't quite trade into the what will be a 7-6 effectively. It'll leave it out as a 7-1. But KumpleKefer has plenty of cards in his deck that could finish it off. The third Ground Shaker, a Crackthorn Beast, Cypher's Wrath, Flame Burst. And if he can persuade shadowblue to trade into the Ground Shaker, because it is a good trade, then he'll buy himself time to find those cards. He could also be considering whether or not to draw here, make a land, or +1 Faeria. And he actually +1's Faeria. He has a Gyarados in his hand, so he has enough stuff to do. He just needs the Faeria to do it, so that's what he decides to do. Now, shadowblue recognized that KumpleKefer didn't have an answer to the 7-7 last turn, but in combination with the Ground Shaker, he probably has, some way to make 1 damage and clear it, which would leave him really far behind. And his only way to reduce the chance that KumpleKefer can clear his Colossus is to Frogify the Ground Shaker. If he wanted to be less all-in on the Colossus, he could, for example, just clear the Ground Shaker or collect and drop a 4-4 to contest this Axe Grinder, and just hope to draw maybe another Colossus. But he's kind of all-in here on his aggressive Colossus, hoping that KumpleKefer doesn't have 4 more damage with the Toad to finish it off. And KumpleKefer actually draws a very useful card here, the Elderwood Embrace. He now has the option to use this Axe Grinder in addition to the buff to value trade the 7-6. Really a play that he can only do when he draws Elderwood Embrace. So now he's got 2 very good trades on shadowblue's bigger creatures with Elderwood Embraces plus Sagami Grovecaller. And at this point in the game, shadowblue's aggression hasn't really paid off. KumpleKefer managed to draw the answer with those Grovecaller plus Elderwood Embrace to answer both of his big aggressive creatures. And shadowblue's fallen really far behind on board. His opponent's triple collecting, he's not collecting at all. And he actually concedes the game in a couple turns. There's not really many interesting decisions after this. So I hope everyone enjoyed this analysis of this very interesting game. At least I found it very interesting. Feel free to leave any feedback in the comments below. And let me know if you want to see more analysis of competitive Faeria matches. And thanks for watching.